And as promised, we're back with Password and Tyson's Day 15 with the new look saves here, which I just had to go and make sure I was on the right path for. When I opened my eyes, I knew I was dreaming again. Part of me wondered why I was still having dreams this vivid. I didn't mind too much. At least not yet. I sat up in my bed looking around my room. Seeing it again made me wonder how I'd feel once I got back home. An ache in my chest reminded me that Dad wasn't there. But maybe Mom would be. Tyson would be there for sure. I could still hear his voice in my ear, calling me brother, hugging me tight and just being there for me. The memory of him talking to Dad before he went for work lingered though. Wondering if now I'd be considered old enough to finally know what sort of stuff they had to talk about. Finding myself downstairs, I looked around the room. I wanted to see Ty again. Not that it was much of an ask given he was elsewhere in the same house, but I felt a longing I hadn't been able to shake. Ty. Looking over the sofa, I saw him sitting there looking stiff. Not that he seemed to be paying me much mind, but just seeing him put me at ease. What? I frowned, realising the problem with what I was seeing. I just wanted to see you, I think. You dork. I huffed, collapsing on the sofa next to him. Or more accurately, I seemed to float down next to him, so I was sitting again. Tell me something, Dream Ty. What? You love me, right? Well, maybe. Would you tell me if I asked? Probably not. Right, yeah, that makes sense. Sighing out, I rubbed my eyes. Can we talk? In the morning, I mean. What do you think? Well, I'd like to think you'd want to talk to me. Well, I guess you'll have to see in the morning. Everything slowly faded into an inky black, my mind settling back into unconsciousness so I could rest. By the time I awoke, I felt different. Not better or worse, just different. I wasn't even sure if I felt rested, but I knew at the very least I didn't want any more sleep. Taking a shower to wake myself up properly, I dressed in some fresh clothes and headed on downstairs. As I hit the stairs, I ran to Oswin, just about to head down himself. Oh, morning. Yeah, good morning. We descended the stairs in silence, and once we reached the bottom I fumbled for what I wanted to say. You upset with me? He froze in his tracks, turning slowly to face me. Should I be? Well, the needle and the bottle. I have questions, to say the least, but now's not the time for that. Then later? Of course later. You have enough on your plate as it is, though I will say I expect answers. Right, yeah, that makes sense. But I have some questions too about, well, that. What kinds of questions? You said we're not getting into it now, but just be ready for me to ask some questions too. Oh, very well. When the time comes, I'll be sure to collect you for a little chat. Together we made our way into the dining room, splitting off as I sat down with the others already at the table. Good morning. I turned to Sal, Roswell and Hoss, all seemingly unsure of how to answer. Roswell nudged both Hoss and Sal before shooting me a quick smile. Morning, Dave. I sleep all right. Yeah, I slept. That's good, right? Did you need to sleep more? You could go back to bed if you wanted. Right, especially with yesterday being so... He gestured with his hands, filling in the rest of his sentence. I think... Well, I'm good for now at least. I just need to wake up some more and have something to eat. You name it, I'll make it, honest. Well, maybe just give him some space, Orlando. He's right here, he can speak for himself. We're just trying to be thoughtful. It's okay, really. I don't know. Sighing out, I shook my head. Don't worry, I got this. Sit tight, Dave. No, Ty, it's okay. What I really want to say is, sorry. Well, you have nothing to apologise for. Well, to be fair, he kinda does, but that's for later. I'm sorry for making everyone worry and that well... There was silence all around when I trailed off. Breathing in deep, I resolved myself to admitting what I was sorry for without a prompt from someone else. I'm sorry I've been a shitty friend. We're just glad you're alive. Which, all things considered, about what happened, well... Alright, maybe let's not do this over breakfast. He hasn't even had coffee yet. Despite me saying I was able to manage, Ty got up and wandered off towards the kitchen, presumably to get me something to drink. Oh, right, breakfast. Hang tight, Dave, I'll go make you something. Before I get a word in edgewise, he was hot on Tyson's heels and disappeared into the kitchen much the same. Is it alright if we just take today slowly? Well, yeah, of course. I didn't have any plans after yesterday. Most of us were just waiting for me. Well, it didn't seem right to go planning anything after you passed out. After we made sure you were comfortable in bed, we just sort of sat around sharing stories. Most any nice memory we had of you, just to try and lift the mood a little. Benson's been on near constant lookout for that. Oh, wow. Who we saw in the woods. I nodded slowly, the image of Jack flashing through my head. Run! Run as fast as you can! My hands went to my head and I cowered in my chair. I could hear his voice echoing through my head like I was back out in the woods. No! No! I'm safe! I shut my eyes tighter, trying to block him out, but he was there. I flinched when I felt something touch my shoulder, feeling as I backed up against a tree again with his knife at my throat. Just give up, Dave. Well, let whatever happens, happen. Dave! I was trembling, on my back on the floor with Ty over me, holding me steady. I was breathing hard, still reeling from the thoughts of Jack, and my eyes were damp. Ty! I sat up and clung to him, heart beating rapidly in my chest. Just as tightly he held on to me as he guided me back to my feet and eased me back down to a chair that he could pick up the one I'd fallen out of. Alright, who was it? Well, me, but... Snarling, Ty advanced on Roswell, but was caught by the scruff. That's enough. He didn't mean it, Tyson. Shrugging Sal off him, Ty grumbled as he threw his hands up. Fine. I'll give him a chance to recover first. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you'd provoke a reaction like that so easily. He's not around, is he? There was silence again, broken only by the sound of Orlando setting something down on the table. Broken out of my trance, the smell hit me immediately, causing me to rise at the sweet scent. Butter, cinnamon, maple syrup. At first I thought waffles, for I took in another breath through my nose. French toast? Oh yeah, I know you like eggs, so... I must have pounced on it a little too eagerly, almost inhaling it and barely savouring the rich goodness as it coated my tongue. Oh, slow down, you're gonna choke. The second piece was midway to my mouth where I paused, looking around at the others. Sorry, I guess I'm just hungry? I'm gonna make some more then. Anyone else want any? A couple of hands went up and Ty shook his head. I'll get whatever I'd have to Dave. Alright, sure, I'll be back again. I'll go make myself useful. Be back soon. The two then wandered off towards the kitchen, and I resumed shoveling food into my mouth. I had a question. For who? For Dave. Sure, what's the question? What would you like to do today? Well... I thought about it, brow furrowed. The options the mansion gave us seemed to be a fair bit, but then again, the thought of going outside was sending shivers down my spine. The only thing I had in mind really was talking to Oswin. He had questions for me and I had some for him as well. I wanted to know more about what I had found, plus where I went and what it all meant. This was his home, so he's bound to know more about what was surrounding it, right? I haven't really thought about it. Just something later with Oswin, really. I see. Well, perhaps it would be best to just take it easy today. Well, rest days are important. There are plenty to do inside anyway. Maybe we could have another movie night as a group. Ty must have noticed I was frowning, for I'd realised I was doing it, poking me suddenly. Oh, stop frowning. I'm not frowning. I was just thinking. Right, well, how's a movie day sound? Maybe. In reality, I didn't really want to be around a bunch of people. I still felt ashamed for the past few days and wanted some time to think about what was to happen next. Was I still broken? I felt better and worse at the same time and didn't know how to really know if that was normal. Now, what did you want to do? Sleep maybe? Or just lay down? Ty looked at me carefully, eyes narrowing for a moment before he seemed to clue into how I was feeling. Alright. I opened my mouth to say something and then shut it again, wondering how best to approach how I wanted to talk to him about given the dream I had. Not to mention things from the past couple of days. If there's any hope of me finding out what he and Dad talked about, I'd have to ask him directly. That's assuming he even remembered. But can I let you know later? After breakfast, maybe? I think that should be fine. I wouldn't mind watching a movie, assuming Hoss isn't using the television upstairs. Well, better yet, why don't we watch something together? Might find something we both like. This is going to end up in anime again, isn't it? The moment you find something better than anime to watch, let me know. Eventually we all settled in for more French toast, and I finally got myself some coffee. Something about it tasted different. Not bad, but different. Maybe different was just a new feeling I was going to have to get used to. Everyone seemed intent on focusing on eating, except for Tyson, who slid his plate over to me. Didn't even seem to look at me as he did, instead fiddling with his phone while he drank his coffee. With my belly full, I yawned. There's nothing like a good meal, and breakfast was a good reminder of it. Standing there in the foyer, I'd stretched out after Orlando had offered to take my plate for me, and I looked around. For an entrance hall, it was quite big, to the point it almost seemed wasteful of the space. But the house I lived in was fairly open as well, so maybe it was just something I wasn't used to. Wandering over to the back door, I felt my fur tingle the closer I got. My eyes were locked on the world on the other side of the door, and I couldn't bring myself to cross the last few steps to reach the handle. I found myself standing there fiddling with my hands and my tail tucked between my legs. Not that I wanted to go outside anyway, but there was that fear that Jack was waiting just out of sight in the trees. As I turned away from the back door, I noticed Ty lingering a bit back near the stairs, just watching me. He didn't say anything to indicate he was there, instead just watching, waiting maybe for me to say something first. I can't do it. Go outside, I mean. Did you even want to? Maybe. Probably not. I shrugged, skittering towards Tyson before I continued. I'm scared? No shit you're scared. Don't think anyone would blame you either, but... He cut himself off, scratching the fur on the back of his neck. What I mean is I don't. Just don't go wandering out there without telling someone. Don't go out there without telling me, alright? Almost lost you once. Sorry. He approached and carefully wrapped me up in another hug. Brief, but after a tight squeeze, I felt a little better. What are you doing out here by yourself? Just thinking, really. I don't really know how I should be feeling, but everything feels different now. Not like a bad different or a good different, but just different. Ty didn't seem to understand. Instead, just frowned as he watched me in silence. What I mean is that I'm wondering if I'm still me, I guess. Or what that even means after this past year and a half. That's why you bailed before you could let me know if we're watching shit with Sal and Hoss. I blinked, having already forgotten I had said that. My bad? No shit, good to know you're slowly getting back to normal. I don't think I really want to be around a bunch of people today, Ty. I feel embarrassed after yesterday still. He turned to go and I grabbed him quickly by the arm. But, can we hang out today? Just the two of us? Alright, what did you want to do? I didn't get that far, but at the very least I had a dream last night that I want to talk to you about.
Well, what kind of dream?
Not a bad one, just, I don't know, one that made me want to talk to you about stuff. He sighed, rolling his eyes.
This is about what I think it's about, and I don't really want to rehash what we've already talked about.
I nodded slowly, dropping my hand away. I understand. I'll go find someone else to just hang with to keep my mind off it. Tyson's eyes narrowed. I couldn't tell if it was because he was thinking something over, or he was just suspicious of if I was pulling a fast one on him. Groaning, he threw his hands up before lazily letting one of them land casually on my shoulder.
Fine, we'll have to talk again. But I fucking swear, Dave, this better be the last time.
I can't promise that. My reply came fast enough that it made Tyson flinch, looking at me carefully. There's so many things I barely understand. Sure, I could probably ask Dean or Orlando or Roswell, literally anyone smarter than me, to explain them. Breathing in deep, I continued, shutting my eyes so I didn't lose my resolve and just saying what I need to get off my chest. They're not my family. They're not you. Not only that, but because some of these things are directly about you, I don't want what other people think when I could ask about how you feel. When I opened my eyes again, Tyson looked shell-shocked, going to say something every other second, but fumbling over what specifically he wanted to say back. So until I understand, I'm going to keep asking you. At the very least because you're the older brother between the two of us, right? Help me understand what's going on. In the next moment, I had one of Tyson's hands around my muzzle, clamping it shut. His voice was brought down low and his gaze averted somewhat.
Okay, I get it. You'd have to make a fucking scene in the middle of the foyer. Won't be surprised if the whole house heard you with the echo.
Easing off, he sighed out as I rubbed my face.
Meet me in my room in a couple of minutes. I'm just going to word up Sal and Hoss they're watching stuff on their own for however long this takes.
Thanks, Ty.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. See you in a bit.
Ty wandered back into the dining room, but not without pausing and looking me quickly over his shoulder before disappearing out of sight. As he sorted out his plans for the day, I headed up to his room, looking around. There was a part of me that didn't want to be in here, almost like it was forbidden ground to tread on. But in reality, the moment my eyes fell on his bed, I whined with memories from a week ago. Nothing happened if they shouldn't have gotten that far. Another thing that we need to talk about at some point. By the time Ty came back, I was still awkwardly standing in the middle of the room. Giving me a funny look, he closed the door behind him and wandered past me to the bed to sit down.
You coming?
I'm good for now.
What the fuck are you standing there for?
You remember a week ago, right? Immediately his ears drooped, mood deflating.
Fuck. Right, we could do this in your room if you want, or literally anywhere else if that's better.
No, it's fine, I think. That's just one of the things I don't understand. We'll get to that later, though. Carefully, I wandered over to the bed and sat down next to him, frowning. So, I had a dream last night about you.
What kind of dream?
Well, it's about being back home. How things would be after we get back from this, well, vacation, I guess.
What do you think they'd be like? Different?
Different, sure. Like, maybe I'd be dating someone, maybe not. Maybe others would be around somehow, or maybe it'd just be you and me.
Well, you don't want to sort my shit out and bail too, right?
I'd forgotten about it in all honesty, making me hang my head and sigh out. Please don't leave too, Ty. If everyone leaves, then where does that leave me?
Maybe you should go somewhere too. Maybe head up the beach and have a decent vacation after this one. You like the beach?
I like the beach because you and Dad were there. If neither of you were around, it just wouldn't be the same, I think. Glancing at him, I noticed him nodding slowly.
I guess that's fair. Probably just be a reminder that you're alone, huh?
Yeah. But that's not the important part, Ty.
Yeah, what is?
The past few nights, they've all been dreams of Dad. But after yesterday, the one person I wanted to see most? I felt silly for being so mushy, and I felt my ears burn and cheeks go red under my fur. It was you, so... I could hear it if I looked over to him, the steady thumping of his tail against the bed. Look, you said you're not gay, I get that. You then tell me you're not sure, I get that too. Or is it bad that I want to know, for you to be sure? I might not even be your type, and that's cool too. But just not knowing makes it hard for me to be able to know what's alright to say and what isn't okay to do, and with that either, it's just very hard to do anything. Breathing in again, I felt myself getting worked up. Not in a sad way, but more in an annoyed way that made my words come out closer to a bark than I'd intended. And we've got everything going on with you and Hoss, which is cool, but I feel a little jealous he was my friend first. I'm also happy you have a friend now. And I'm worried about what happened a week ago now, and people pushing me towards Dean, and... You don't like Dean? I grumble and throw my hands up. I don't know. People just keep saying that we make a good match. If I was a little more confident, then I'd probably be more willing to flirt back without feeling like I'm going to mess it up. And tell them? Shit, I thought you liked the bear and this was all helping. It was at first, but now I just... I rubbed my face, sighing out and slumping back onto the bed. Now I'm just not sure. Almost felt like we were at home again, laying down next to each other, just hanging out. Be it on the grass of the front lawn, backyard, middle of the living room, or on my bed. Ty, why can't it just be easy to fall in love with someone and just... this whole thing sort itself out?
Life is shit like that, that's why.
No kidding.
Well, even the people that should love you don't always, and it sucks. That's why David ruled so much.
You could probably just call him Dad, I think. The thought made me smile, if at all misty-eyed. He'd have probably been fine with it.
Not until my own dad kicks the bucket, and I hope that piece of shit keels over sooner rather than later.
I knew already that Ty's dad wasn't the greatest on a lot of fronts, but hearing him be so direct about wanting him dead was the first. That's not a nice thing to say, Ty.
Well, I don't care. He'd be better off dead so he can't hurt anyone else. Don't even thinking of coming near you either.
Was he really that bad? Like, really?
Fucking, you saw the house. You saw the alcohol. First Mom ditched me with him and he just saw that as an excuse to make me pick up the slack and blame me for her not being around.
He's almost bellowing to the ceiling to the point I was considering covering my ears. Instead, I just reached out for a hand and grabbed it tightly. He seemed content to just keep ranting, although he squeezed my hand back.
He made a go at you when he came over, and most days he'll just go to work just to get paid, and blow most of it to get drunk. Well, I'd be dead if it wasn't for you.
I didn't... He turned suddenly onto his side to face me, bringing his voice low, although there's still that notable growl in his voice.
And here I am even now fucking acting like him because I don't know how to not be a shit person. I just want people to leave me alone.
I don't really understand.
You know damn well what I'm talking about, Dave.
Our eyes met for the briefest of seconds before he looked away, leaving me to puzzle it out myself. What you almost did a week ago.
It shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have even been a thing I considered. Like, shit, being in your position was bad enough as it was.
He trailed off suddenly. His grip on my hand eased off entirely, and he hung his head between us. I could hear him whimpering softly as he seemed to be recalling something.
I was only a kid.
I did the only thing I knew how, and sat my chin atop his head and rubbed his arm. What could I even say to that? The implication was clear as day, and I feared that if I pushed for more information I'd lose what ability I had to ignore it. The time ticked by as we just lay like that, motionless. The whimpering died down and it almost seemed like Tyson had fallen asleep until he spoke up again.
You should hate me for that.
It wasn't a nice thing to do to me, Ty. If I told any of the others, they'd be out for blood for sure.
And you haven't.
Because if I did, that'd be abandoning you instead of finding out why it happened. Why you treat me that way? Ty shifted around so he could instead place his head atop mine, forcing my nose against his neck rather than arrange us both so we were comfortable.
Didn't think you were serious for a few days after that. Even with the gun thing in Benson. Just assumed, well, you're thinking about your dad.
The Benson thing was different. Losing you as well as Dad would have been too much, I think.
Right, but you're a fucking idiot, Dave. You stopped me from going into the woods to get shanked and head on in yourself like you forgot.
Now it was my turn to whine, but instead he just shifted a hand onto my shoulder and started rubbing my back.
Well, I'm glad neither of us ended up dead, you know.
Me too. For another few moments we just lay there until I prodded him gently in the chest. Why did you get so upset that day that you resort to that?
I don't know. Probably because I was scared I'd end up hurting you if I stuck around, maybe. Or I'd get jealous and take it out on someone else and you'd hate me. The fact thing is, if you're going to hate me, I'd rather it be because something I did directly to you, right?
That makes sense, sure. What I don't get is that why then I'd even cross your mind. Did you want me to hate you or something?
Nah, that's not it. It's like,
We both sat up and he stretched, looking crestfallen while he rubbed his face.
Thought, what's the worst thing that happened to me and what could I could do to you? Then if you hated me, I could make a clean split and figure myself out. Then you'd not be like, worried about making sure everyone else was getting along with me too.
That's kinda dumb, Ty.
What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
You'd think that now of all times I'd be looking to randomly hate you just because... Hell, right after I was claiming that I was trying to save your life and even willing to strip down in the backyard to keep you safe. Ty, come on. If that's not evidence enough of how important you are to me, then I don't know what is. My mouth suddenly felt dry, rasping out my next breath as I pulled the brakes on my train of thought.
It took me by surprise for sure.
Do you love me?
What?
You know, like, at all.
Where the fuck is this coming from?
I don't know, everything's complicated. I just remember things being simpler. What am I to you? A brother? Less than that? More than that?
I'm gonna level with you. I don't know. I'd like to know what this feeling is, but it's scary as all hell. Sometimes it's a good feeling, sometimes bad, sometimes it's just such a fucking downer. I'd rather it just not be there.
Oh.
Look, I know what you want me to say, but I just don't want to say it. What if I don't mean it? What if it turns out you get your hopes up and I'm just like, not able to return what you feel for me?
I haven't said how I feel yet.
You're not exactly subtle. First, I kind of know how you'd say it anyway. It's...
Ty went quiet suddenly, not even sighing out. His eyes went to the floor and his tail remained deathly still.
It's one of the last things David said to me anyway.
What?
Yeah, remember the guy talk we had for like an hour?
I remember. I never did find out what he's about.
I probably never will. It was just stuff I needed advice on.
Is it all sorted out at least?
Well, not really. Get in there, though. But part of that was David saying shit that made me feel real uncomfortable. He just laughed it off, though.
What sort of things? Ty's tail started to thump behind him again, and if I had the hint and suspicion that his cheeks were going red under his fur.
Oh, stupid stuff.
Come on, tell me. Whatever it was, it must have been good, right? Tail seems to think so. Snatching his tail so he could hold it against the bed, he sighed out.
That he loved me, that he's proud I came asking for advice. Stuff like that. Wasn't the first time I'd done it, so it's just strange he'd say that stuff then of all times, right?
Dad was the best.
He was, yeah.
We stared at each other a few moments, just watching or waiting for the other to make the first move.
I really am. I hope you know that.
What? You really are what?
Oh, sorry. I feel like if what happened just didn't, things would be a bit different now.
Different how?
I don't know, maybe we'd have gone to the beach instead of coming here. Maybe we'd have made plans to move in somewhere together and have a place of our own.
Is that something you still want? He shrugged and I thought it over. Well, regardless of where I go, I'll keep in mind to have a spare bedroom ready and waiting for if you need it. No matter whatever boyfriend I might have says.
Well, thanks, Dave.
Not pup?
It feels weird to say now. You're not a kid and you're like, more to me than just a pet, so fuck knows if I'll say it again.
Well, do you prefer Ty or Tyson? He grumbled, mumbling something barely coherent, but I caught it all the same.
Well, it's like hearing your voice.
Resting my head on his shoulder, I sighed out, feeling a little better. For me, I guess I like saying... The comment hung in the air between us for a bit before I continued, wanting to explain why. Like, it's what I call you, right? That's a special thing for me because it's like a nickname or like a thing I'm allowed to do because we're close, right?
Yeah, sure as hell won't let Hoss call me that anyway. He has his own nickname as it is.
Right.
Randoms call me that can get fucked too. I have a name.
Okay, maybe dial it back a little. My point is I like saying Ty because it tells me that we're close. I don't really care if I just call you that.
I care. Call me that is your thing. It's like how you're Dave instead of just going by David. Like, well, David.
It also helps keep things a little less confusing. But I get what you mean, I think.
Not confusing to me, you're just you. As much of a brat as you are.
Careful, Ty. Otherwise I might have to find a new nickname to call you by.
Yeah, like you go and do that.
I don't know, if Hoss is calling you Big Dog now, maybe you could be Little Bit. In a flash, Ty had his arm around my head and grinded a knuckle into the spot between my ears.
Okay, I'm sorry. It hurts, Uncle. What was that you're about to call me? 'Cause it better not be what I think it was.
It wasn't, I'm sorry. You let me go, but not before patting the fur on my head back down.
Try call me a bitch again and see what happens.
Don't tempt me. I smiled as I saw Ty shake with laughter, his spirits clearly high. It was almost contagious, and I found myself snickering alongside him as I rubbed my head. I checked the time on my phone quickly, saw that we still didn't have any reception. The thought caused me to frown, but more than that I realised just how long we'd been chatting for. Hoss and Sal are probably wondering where you are.
Oh, fuck it, you're more important.
I'll be fine until later. I just like that we talked things out.
What's happening later?
Oh, well, I have a few things I need to let you guys know. Never did really get around to explaining what happened, but already I could feel the thought of Jack and his knife starting to creep into the front of my memory.
Hey, it's alright, you're safe.
Yeah, I'm safe, right?
I just said that.
No, that's not what I meant. Something else is... Ty frowned as he watched me. Left my thought there unsure exactly of how to explain it.
Well, if you're in trouble, you better tell me.
I'm not sure, at least not yet. What I mean is that, I groaned, rubbing my face. Tyson threw an arm over my shoulder, and that made me feel somewhat less apprehensive about the talk I need to have tonight.
Go on, let's hang with Hoss and Sal until you're ready.
Despite the plan to head on over to the rec room, we headed downstairs for a snack first, with the idea that we'd be free to spend the rest of the afternoon without needing to break for lunch. Oh, come on. This seems to be going as well as it did for Tyson yesterday. When we arrived to meet up with the other two, we walked in on what appeared to be Hoss trying to convince Sal about something. Ah, you're here. Good, you can help me convince Sal to... The moment Hoss started talking, Ty was on his way forward, quieting up with his trademark move of putting his hand around Hoss's face.
Leave him alone, Tomcat.
Are you feeling better, Dave? Yeah, I'm good. And I'm glad.
Dude, sounds like the magical girl genre and Sentai were the same thing. I just had to correct him on it. Does it really matter that much?
Hoss started making frustrated sounds, feeling of how taken aback he was in the moment. I recognised it from the other times he'd done it to get a rise out of Orlando. The faint smirk he flashed me when I caught his eye knew he wasn't being serious. I took a moment to get myself comfortable and just enjoy a moment where the people around me were happy. It was nice, slowly easing back into things if things were back to normal. So, what are we watching? Do we have a movie in mind, or...? We have options. Plenty of anime to watch. Honestly, surprising just how much there is in the way of genre coverage.
If you're rich, why not just download or buy everything just because you can, right?
I know, that seems kind of wasteful, doesn't it? Dave has a point. Unless they have a boat hidden somewhere. Rich people have boats. We're on a mountain though. They probably just have it stashed somewhere they'd actually get some use.
Pretty far off in the ocean, but maybe there's a lake nearby.
The lake wouldn't be bad to swim in or go fishing. That's great and all, but this doesn't help us decide what anime we're watching. We're not watching anime, Hoss. Why not?
Because he said so, I'm guessing.
I kind of want to watch that one movie that... Wait, was it one movie or two? I don't know what movie he's talking about. Any ideas, Tyson?
I have no clue.
Come on, you know the one that's like with the people and they go and do the thing with the ring. If we're watching that one, should I go get Roswell? Huh? Why Roswell? No, I don't think he means that one, Hoss. I don't think Dave is talking about anything with wrestling involved either. No, come on, Ty, we've watched this one before. His blank expression quickly made me realise he had absolutely no clue as to what I was talking about.
Can I have a clue?
It's, not the space one?
The fact that they make a space movie with a ring in it.
Oh, I thought that was a video game.
No, there were things and... Oh God, what did they do with the ring in the movie?
Volcano?
Yeah, Volcano. I watched that movie.
Oh.
That's something like 3 movies. That's going to be literally the rest of the day if we watch them all in order.
Is that a problem? So long as we don't tell Dean and Orlando. They both love those movies.
We can just wait until we're ready to watch a movie together and watch them then. Oh, fuck it. I like those movies and they've seen them before. They can watch them in their own time.
You sure that's okay? Oh, worst case scenario, go and just blame me if they get all uppity about missing out on the movie. They have their chance.
Wow, rude. But if I'm getting blamed for watching something I want to watch, don't we better watch it?
Alternatively, we could just watch something else.
Well, it's either this or anime, so... I shall load up the anime then. We're not watching anime.
For the rest of the afternoon, we enjoyed watching movies. After the first, we took a break for snacks before getting right back to it. Then we were right back to it soon after, and before I knew it, we were done. We made our way to dinner. As I sat down, I started to worry. Would the others understand? Would I be brushed off as crazy? They believed me only a little bit about what the vault had been doing. I had a chance, but it felt so much more dire than that. I was scared. For myself. For my friends. Whatever this mess we found ourselves in meant. I looked across to Oswin, who, along with Benson, ate with the rest of us. He was watching me quietly, almost waiting for me to make the first move. I'd gone through half my own meal before stopping, instead playing with what remained with my spoon. Hey, everyone? The moment I spoke, Oswin nodded slowly, setting his cutlery aside and mumbling something to Benson. The otter nodded back and headed into the kitchen out of sight to do whatever it was that was asked of him. What's the matter, Dave? Are you not hungry? Does it taste bad? I could make you something else if you want. No, it's not that, just... I need to tell you all about something. Is it about, No. All eyes turned to Oswin as he answered me a moment after Orlando asked. It's something that led to everything that transpired a couple of days ago. A cascade of issues that ultimately start with my intervention of something that I fear may yet come to pass. Well, that sounds ominous. If incredibly troubling given what happened to Dave. I made myself smaller in my chair and let Oswin lead the conversation. He made the offer, and if it saved me the task of explaining something I barely understood, I was going to let him. Oh wait, so the reason Dave went to the woods was because of you? Oh, in essence, yes, though I was radically overestimating my direct role in things. You're the one who said this was all your fault, you know. I'm aware. I looked at Orlando, who seemed to quickly put something together, and his scales paled just enough to be noticeable. Don't tell me that thing that you stopped from happening. Before you go assuming the worst, I'll tell you now the details specifically around what I stopped happening are unknown to me. But you just said... Specifically. You said specifically. And you know some of the details. I do, yes. Oswald looked at me and I looked at him back. There's a moment where I thought he was going to continue taking charge in the conversation, but faded the longer he remained silent. The longer he didn't elaborate, the more my friends turned to me, as that's where he was looking. I breathed in and spoke quietly, my voice quivering as I struggled to put it into words. Marked for death. Closing my eyes, I heard the phrase echoing around in my head. I couldn't place why or how it seemed to be echoing around me, but it was, reminding me of things I'd seen so far. Tyson, mauled by something outside. Solidarity. Benson, shot in the dining room. Betrayal. Dean, or something was going on. Sal had an axe and he was covered in blood. When I opened my eyes, I was breathing hard. But then, who could... Dave, you doing alright? What? How long did I zone out for? You zoned out? I looked towards one who seemed amused by something, but I shook my head. Okay, everyone knows I've been messing with the vault, right? Right. Well, after the first time Oswin contacted me through a radio thing, right?
Close enough, yes.
But why? Oswin said one of us was going to die, right?
He said what?
Eyes were on Oswin again, and he seemed completely unaffected by the looks he was getting.
Dave speaks the truth, although he's not completely on the mark. Specifically, I told him that any number of you are at risk, not just one of you. The fuck from what?
Oh, who? Oswin shrugged.
You better start talking.
I am. More importantly, I'm relaying what information I do know.
Anything else? Well...
You're lying.
Pardon?
You do know more, but for whatever reason you're just not saying it.
You're right, and I know many things that are quite frankly none of your business.
Can't expect you to drop that bombshell and have them be alright with it, Oswin.
My concern is not what my approval rating is, but relay what the truth of the matter is. Which I'll remind you is that your lives are in danger. Fuck it, we'll just leave then.
No, we can't.
What? Why the fuck not?
I explained to Dave at the time that leaving would only ensure the death of one of you. Not by my hand, mind you. I gave him the choice and he decided to stay. And the phone reception being cut?
Who can say? Not my doing in any case. So what, we just have to buy that? Fuck you, Dave almost died.
I'm aware of that, but he didn't. Large in part to Benson. No help from you, I'll add.
And who do you think asked Benson to keep an eye out?
But why me?
Is Dave in that much danger? You tell me, Mr. Noble. Well, I don't want him in danger. I've been doing everything I can to try and keep him safe. Could you say the same about your father? What's he got to do with Dave's safety?
I can't say I like him very much.
Acquainted already, are we, Sal?
We've met. But why Dave?
Dave is more collateral damage waiting to happen. What Orlando's father is actually after would be the vault downstairs.
Why would the banker want the vault? There are a few confused glances around the room as I finished my question. With no answer, I looked first to Orlando, then to Oswin. Wait, was that what he meant? What he was after?
You're going to need to be more specific than that, Dave.
The guy who, he was interested in the vault but thought it was a time machine? I saw Oswin's nostrils flare at the mention of a time machine. He grunted in annoyance.
It's not a time machine, but it being described that way makes it abundantly clear who sent that rabbit.
What exactly is the vault? It's a bit beyond me, but it shows how you die, right?
Not exactly. For the most part, exactly how or why it works isn't important right now. The only important part is Dave can use it, as can Orlando's father. Now fuck it, give the guy. Like hell I'll put Dave in danger just because you won't. And you're going to do what exactly? I'll have you know that I'm not entirely keen on handing over a machine like that to a crime boss.
Even Tyson had conceded that giving anything to a crime syndicate wasn't a clear-cut good or bad idea. But it's not a time machine, right? Well, what's the harm?
You're an intelligent boy. You tell me what someone could do with a machine built around quantum mechanics and morphic resonance.
I saw Orlando's hand eagerly shoot up right around the time the sly grin came on Roswell's face.
Morphic resonance, huh? I don't get it. Someone explain what exactly it is.
Well, it might not be a time machine, but a machine like that could give you something like psychic powers. I found myself glancing between Roswell and Oswin while Tyson seemed to be trying to understand the explanation.
Roswell.
Being able to jump between different realities, stuff like that. You know, the good stuff.
That's not how it works.
I noticed Orlando sheepishly putting his hand down while Oswin fumed. Roswell clearly pleased with himself.
No, well, it's something close to that anyway. But essentially, imagine being able to look into the future to where you might be in danger. Imagine how useful that'd be. I suppose I'm not going to get a thoroughly explained version unless I do it myself, but now is hardly the time.
So, Orlando's dad is the bad guys?
I'm not, I promise. He's very different from his father and from my interactions with him, so unless he's a very good liar, I'm fairly certain Orlando's heart is in the right place.
Okay, so where does that leave us now? Orlando's family wants the vault, but we can't give it to him because Dave can use it. He's in trouble. But on top of that, at least one of us is in danger?
Well, not only that, we can't leave because if we do, then one of us will still be in danger.
Yeah, but if we make it through the end of the month, we're safe, right?
That's right. My interest is in seeing you through to the end of the month alive and well. I may not show it, but I do genuinely wish for you all to survive.
Then what happens now? We can't contact the police after what happened, otherwise I'd say we should do that.
If my dad is behind this, then, well, I can't contact him either. Tell him to stop.
Would it be that easy?
No, I suppose it wouldn't. In the meantime, we have Benton's a useful asset to keep us safe. I'll start shoring up to what defences I can, although they'd mostly just be keeping tabs on if the doors are locked or not. Perhaps get the security system operational again.
And what should we do?
Oh, stay safe, obviously.
Are we going to be alright for food? What about if the worst happens?
It wouldn't come to that, would it? It may, but you don't live in isolation like this without stockpiling a little bit. As far as food stores, we should need to ration for a long while, even with the 9 of us present.
There were signs of relief all round, but we were left there unsure of where to go next. I sat back in my chair and sighed out. It was out in the open now, and it felt good that everyone seemed to have context to what I'd been going through lately.
I don't get it.
Roswell speaking caught me off guard. Looking over, I only see him thinking hard about something.
If Dave can use the vault, that's fine, but how he's been using it so far doesn't feel very efficient. Or at least the system itself seems flawed.
How do you mean?
Well, think back to when you were at the vault when you came back in from the hedge maze, right?
You had your notebook and you're trying to open it, right?
Well, that's just it. There's 2 things wrong here. The first is there's a door there, so there has to be something inside. If so, then what? And if Orlando's dad wants it 'cause it's a time machine, then does he not know what it looks like? Or there's a door? Why isn't he after what's inside?
Here now, we don't even know if what's inside is valuable, do we? Eyes went to Oswin. He seemed distracted by something, having missed the implied question.
Oswin, what's inside the vault?
He gave me a careful stare, one that seemed to be thinking still about whatever it was that had distracted him.
I'm not at liberty to say. Well, is what inside the vault dangerous? Valuable at least to a crime syndicate? To someone smart enough, what's contained inside could do a great deal of harm, or a great deal of good, depending. Well, I don't have faith Orlando's father will be one to do good, willing or otherwise, whatever he found inside.
And we can't just open it and destroy what's inside either. That'd solve one problem at least.
I'd considered it, but no. Destroying it would ultimately do more harm than good. Of that you can be sure.
Okay, right. Roswell scratched his head before he continued.
And it's the second thing, right? And that would be? Well, if Dave can use the vault then, what's stopping him from just grabbing a dictionary and just brute forcing options with every word listed in it? He'd surely find something that would work, right? Perhaps. Think about how many words there may be. Think about how long it would take him to type each one individually. As a separate issue of that, there's been some developments on the back end that puzzle me still.
Like how there are passwords that work that you didn't program in.
Correct. There shouldn't be anything that slips by me as far as anyone using it. The window of opportunity to program something in and delete the entry after you'd seen it would be near impossible. Well, actually, it's literally impossible. Excuse me? Well, you said it works off morphic resonance. If we're looking at this as the pseudo-scientific principle instead of a work of science fiction, the only thing that's coming across is not even in this timeline. You'll do well to forget about different timelines, boy. Fine, different iterations of the universe then. This only supports my suggestion. If Dave really wanted to, he could brute force passwords.
Is that really possible? I do it if it would mean keeping people safe.
I can't deny the possibility. There's a problem in Roswell's reasoning. Well, as far as I can tell. Then allow me to explain. The vault won't show your own death like Sal assumed. In fact, it's literally incapable of showing your own death. And if we're in danger, Dave could just tell us and then use that information to keep him safe in turn, right? Unless he's never in a position to witness those events on other timelines. The moment you create a scenario that is forced to come to pass on every further instance of the universe, you're doing any potential alternatives you might be looking for.
So I just won't go punching in words. Easy.
And if you don't, then how are you meant to know who's in danger? It's worked at least twice so far, so... It's a decision that Dave will need to make for himself. If anything, him not seeing anything is a good sign for the time being.
Oswald went back to his meal a moment later, deciding he was done talking, and a moment later rising from the table. Much in the same way, everyone else started eating again, although the air was filled with uncertainty. I finished up eating and took my plate into the kitchen not long after that. While the talk was nice, there was more still to come, and I was eager to get that done sooner rather than later. I headed upstairs, figuring I'd make a beeline for the library. What I didn't expect was Oswin to already be there. So, now's a good time to talk, right?
Are you sure that's wise, all things considered? That talk from earlier is still sending waves through your friends.
It's sending waves through me. We're only halfway through the month. Now we have 2 solid weeks of wondering if we're in danger.
True enough, I suppose.
He remained near the window, looking out into the garden and the forest beyond. Is something out there?
No, at least nothing I can see. I was just reflecting on how this was where I saw things happen on my way back to the lab.
You were here, and then you,
I tried to shoot the rabbit, yes.
Thinking about it made me tremble, wondering over the window I could see no sign of his white fur breaking the deep black of the shadows beyond the trees.
You want to have our chat now? We can.
Here or in the lab?
Do you have any need for that level of privacy? The library would suffice perhaps if need be, but I don't think we do.
With my brow furrowed, I tried to think, barely registering what passed me to shut the door.
Take a seat, Dave. If you don't mind, I'll be going first with my questions. You'll be free to ask as you wish when I'm done.
All right.
Excellent. Now explain to me how you came to find a viral sample and syringe.
Was it from your lab?
Answer the question first.
His stare was intense as his tone, like a father scolding a misbehaving child. When I went out into the woods, I stopped by a river and found it nearby.
And it was exactly as you returned it?
As far as I know, I didn't use it if that's what you're worried about. He reached over and checked my head with his hand.
No fever, good.
His hand lingered though, and just looking at him told me his attention was elsewhere, staring off somewhere far away. Oswin?
Oh yes, very good. I wouldn't think you had any reason to inject yourself with what was in that bottle anyway.
What was in that bottle anyway?
I still have questions. Wait your turn.
Fine. What's next then?
Did you see anyone else out there, or just who you ran into?
Just him.
And you're sure no one else?
Positive. He scratched his chin, sighing out.
I hazard to think there might be others, but it's hard to say. Who we're dealing with isn't exactly right.
Sure, that's a good idea to make fun of someone like that.
I've said it to his face, and I'd say it again. He only cares about his money and guns, just a much larger child, really, spoiled rotten by what I assume to be a life of luxury and poor parenting.
Right, okay.
What?
Well, I don't have kids, but I turned out alright, didn't I? So how hard could it be?
I don't think I quite get what you're implying, Dave. Trust that I have some experience in non-conventional upbringing given the estate.
Any other questions, before it's my turn?
How far into the woods did you go?
I found an old watermill. Went inside while trying to avoid him when he was following me the first time. He tensed up but stayed quiet. Waiting a few moments, I took my chance to ask a question when he didn't respond with anything else. Why?
Why what?
You know what? Why do you care about the mill?
It's a dangerous place with a lot of old, very, shall we say, fickle machinery, long since abandoned.
Sure, what's the matter if I found it or not? Is something there?
No, but it does mark the furthest boundary of the mountain. If you went the other way downstream, you'd likely have hit a sheer cliff.
Sure. What about the vial?
What specifically about it?
Was it one of yours? What was in it? With a sigh, Oswin adjusted his glasses and looked around the room.
I'm not certain on the first. The second, however, I can confirm is what's on the label.
Okay, but what is it? More importantly, why are you being vague?
I'm not being vague. I'm answering your questions, am I not?
You're like half answering them at best, and it's annoying.
Fine. While the vial did say cryptococcal meningitis, the truth of the matter is that it was more of a straight sample of Cryptococcus neoformans.
Which is?
The relevant part for you is the type of fungus. Among other things, it can cause, well, like the label says, a form of meningitis. Which means it's one of yours. I had to run some tests, but it would appear that way. Same with the syringe. Correct. Was there anything else? Who took it, do you think? Pardon? Well, I figure that someone must have snuck in and taken it, right? Then used it out in the woods. It's the first time I saw Oswin at a loss for words. He quickly shifted into a thinking mode as if I wasn't in the room anymore. Oswin? He ignored me, stroking his beard, shifting between bewilderment, frustration, anger, and finally ending on something that looked like sadness, if only for a moment. Sorry, something I just realised. Realised what? Just that whoever snuck in must have been very good at infiltration. It's a hard ask to get by Benson and myself in that area of the house undetected. And Roswell? What about Roswell? Well, he was out in the woods. It could have been him that took it, or maybe someone injected him with it. That's not possible, Dave. There was something about how he'd said that didn't sit right with me, almost like he didn't believe the words that came out of his mouth. Why isn't it possible? Roswell's smart. He could have found a way in, or Jack could have jabbed him with the needle when he was sleeping, or... First of all, boy, injecting yourself with that sample would have had a very dire effect on your immune system. Something that you'd barely be able to recover from at all, let alone in a couple of days like Roswell did. Make no mistake, I'm talking about an infection in the body that is quite literally fatal if left unchecked, and something no mere doctor could just cure overnight. Except for you. You have a lab downstairs and everything. You could just make a cure, right? Medicine is not magic. Well, I have quite a few potent things down, as I'm sure you realise now, knowing what the sample was. Curing something that potent is a lot harder than inflicting it. So where does that leave us? It means your suspect on whose story is as baseless as any guess I could make at this moment. As to who was injected, that is yet to be seen. Roswell doesn't show symptoms he rightfully should after a potential week of being injected. In fact, none of your friends do. Leaving us with only the logical conclusion that no one currently in the house was injected, no? I grumbled, not satisfied. He was right, or at the very least everything he'd said made sense, but something in my gut was telling me I'd forgotten something very important. Not only that, we had no motives to why he'd sneak in and steal that, of all things. Okay, fine. Any other questions, boy? Is there anything we can do about the phone reception? Alas, no. Granted, contacting the authorities might help. I feel like given a certain someone's involvement, they won't do us much good. So I'm still certain that surviving the month is the best way forward. For you. For everyone. Unless you have any other ideas, I'm all ears. Grumbling, I try to think of an alternative. I don't know. It's not the most ideal of circumstances, is it? No, it's just so frustrating. I looked at him and he seemed curious, staying quiet so I could continue. Why us? Why me? This is all just so unfair. Right. Well, regrettably, life is sometimes just like that. You may choose to wallow in how it's unfair or do something about it. I'll tell you now, I don't plan on dying anytime soon. And if you do, then I hope that me dying brings something of value for the rest of you to survive. There are a few things worth dying for, Dave. Don't go throwing your life away on some noble quest to be a hero. And yet you're hoping there's something to gain from you dying? What happens surviving? I don't plan on dying, nor do I want to die. I'm just stating fact that if it becomes absolutely necessary, I've already made my peace long before any of you arrived here. I see. I didn't know what else to say to that, fidgeting on the spot while Oswin continued to watch me. It felt like I hadn't gotten anywhere, but maybe it's just something I had to think about some more. There were clues here, but I didn't know how to piece them together or what they meant. Would it be best to ask Roswell for help? Orlando? Maybe someone like Saladin to get a different perspective? I figured Tyson and Hoss wouldn't be of much help outside trying to make me feel better. That's not what I needed right now. Okay, well, I guess just one step at a time. Agreed. He rose from his spot and I followed suit. He opened the passage to the library and watched me carefully. Rest well, Dave. I'll see you in the morning. One last thing before you go. Thanatos, right? What about him? I know he's... well... but can we trust him? Would it be worth asking him for his opinion on this? Oswin sighed, scratching his chin. That rat is fickle on the best of days. Be something to consider, but I don't think it'd be best to bring him out of the lab just yet.
Why not? He's just a rat.
That's only half true. For the time being, feel it's best that he's kept in the dark from your friends, lest he incites panic by spilling more information than what we're ready for.
Like how the vault works on DNA.
Among other things.
What other things?
I'm allowed to have my secrets. Besides, one thing at a time, Dave. Trust that if anything were to be immediately relevant to keeping us alive, I'll let you know.
With that, he slowly closed the bookcase behind him and disappeared out of sight. I sighed, running my hand through my fur and wandering back over the window. The night seemed calm and quiet, but I found myself scanning the shadows for any flash of white out of worry. What if he was just out there waiting for me again? What would he do with the others if they went outside as well? As I continued to watch the darkness, I could see shadows moving. Nothing white in stark contrast to the dark, for there was something moving out there. My heart stopped for a second while I checked for wind and saw the trees swaying. Maybe it's just the wind. Maybe it's just wildlife. Forcing myself to think that it wasn't the worst case scenario, I backed away from the window and headed to my room. Closing the door behind me, I collapsed onto it with a sigh. Things were looking up, right? We were making progress with everyone knowing stuff, and I was getting some answers too, as much as it was draining. If anything, though, I wish I had the capacity to just figure it all out. So many things were just missing, I didn't know how these puzzle pieces were meant to fit together. It was a good thing I wasn't a detective. It had been a long day, so I stared at my bed as if it were an old friend, ready to lay down and black out for a bit. Something felt off. A dull throb somewhere in the back of my head was hinting that something was wrong. What had happened up until this point was any indication, I knew I should at least try and do something about it. I was tired, but I felt responsible for trying to intervene in whatever bad thing may happen. It's the only thing guiding me forward towards the basement and the vault beyond. As my foot hit the bottom step, I froze, feeling the ground itself vibrate. A deep rumbling before the sound of a large explosion sounded from somewhere far off. Clinging to the railing, I looked around frantic to see if the roof was coming down on us. The next thing I heard was everyone rushing into the foyer to see what had happened. What happened?
It sounded like an earthquake. Well, it wasn't an earthquake. There'd be a lot more shaking and a lot less noise.
Roswell helped me to my feet and I turned to the three of them. Is everyone okay? Us three are fine, at least. You? I stumbled a little, but fine. I turned to the other three who were looking just as alarmed, but otherwise fine. And you're all shirtless? I mean fine?
I've got to know you're fine.
Well, I was just about to get ready for bed before I heard it, I'm guessing. Not the only one assuming that was an explosion, right?
No shit, but why is someone blowing something up now?
You're not wondering why an explosion at all. But we're all safe, right? So who... I trailed off, realization dawning on me. It wasn't Jack that had set off the explosion, had he? Benson and Oswin marched into the foyer, looking around at the rest of us.
Everyone all right? They look fine to me, Benson. Go find out what that was. Very well, sir.
Wait.
Why?
What if it's, him, the rabbit? Calmly, Benson reached into his waistcoat and pulled out what seemed to be a small revolver, jet black with a slim design, different from the one I saw in my vision of his death.
Oh, worry not. I'm not planning to go unarmed. I'd suggest keeping together for the time being just in case the worst happens.
Without breaking stride, Benson walked right out the front door with his pistol in hand, closing it behind him. Are we just meant to wait here?
I could make everyone some tea or something while we wait. Why is that smart? Like to split off just like that? As long as we stay together, we should be alright, or at least not going off alone. Alright, well, the host there might give me a hand with tea.
Is there anything we should do while we wait? We won't need weapons, will we?
I do not believe so.
Alright, well, I guess all we can do is wait it out. Benson's going to be alright too, right?
All things considered, I believe he'll be fine. Even without a gun, Benson is more than capable. For now, it's as you say, we can only wait until he returns.
And so we did. The time ticked by while we waited for Benson to return. Some of us had tea to try and calm our nerves. My eyes were trained on the front door. Listening for the sound of a gunshot, anything else that might hint that danger was nearby. Watching for the very moment Benson would come through that door, worried that he might not. Before I knew it, though, the front door opened again. We all stood the moment we heard the handle turn, assuming the worst, but sure enough. I have some grave news to deliver. How bad is it? Benson put his gun away and stroked his moustache, looking at each of us in turn. There's no positive spin I can put on this, so I'll say it plainly. The road that heads down the mountain is no more. Gone? How? Are you sure? Maybe you just didn't see it properly on account of... I assure you, the road is gone. A combination of a landslide unlikely what we all heard before, thoroughly destroying a large section of road. But how are we meant to get home? We'll be able to get out eventually. I mean, is the damage that bad? Phones are out. The road is gone. Someone really doesn't want us leaving, do they? Is this my fault? No, of course not. Right, this is... Orlando sighed, rubbing his fingers to his mane. I don't know what this is. Well, all things considered, there's not much we can do about it now, and given the time and lack of light, there's no safety to be had investigating it right now. It will need to wait until morning. What are we meant to do, just go to bed and pretend anything was wrong? Regrettably, that's exactly what I'm proposing. Partner, if you need be, for the comfort of safety in numbers, I'll... He stroked his moustache again, thinking things over. I had a feeling I knew what he'd say if he came out with it. It stands to reason that someone should keep watch, and that person makes sense to be me. We can't ask that of you. We should take turns. And what would you mean to do? I'm the only one currently armed, and given our potential assailant, it'd be best if someone trained were to deal with the problem should it arise. But you need to sleep at some point, right? He flashed a tired smile before shaking his head gently. When you've lived as old as I have, you find yourself needing less sleep in the interest of enjoying what time you have left. Dean and Tyson nodded to one another, seemingly sold on Benson's choice while heading upstairs. Roswell was soon behind them, looking thoughtful. Then horsed after he gave Benson a careful look. Are you really sure? I really don't mind staying up if need be. Do not worry about me. I have things I need to attend to anyway. This just gives me a chance to do that, and it won't impact keeping you all safe. Sal reluctantly nodded and made to leave, pausing to take Orlando by the hand until he's following upstairs of his own accord. It's at that point I noticed Oswin was just gone. Having moved on already to bed, I assumed. Run along now, Dave. It's all right. Yeah, all right. Good night, Benson. Good night. See you in the morning. Giving Benson one last look, I headed upstairs, hoping he'd be all right. I wanted to head to bed, to just lay down and get some sleep, but I found myself going on autopilot towards a different room instead. In one motion, I opened the door and closed it behind me with my foot. Dave? My reply came in the form of just marching forward and hugging him tightly around the chest, almost clinging desperately to him. Second time I'd done this in a couple of days, but I didn't care. It was the one thing that I thought of when I needed comfort. I needed that now more than anything else. His hands found my shoulders and patted me gently, possibly still stunned from how suddenly I'd barged into his room. Hugged me back properly. He peeled my arms from around him and wrapped his arms around me in the same way I'd done to him. Better? I hugged him back around the neck, rubbing my cheek against his and sighing out. I'm scared. Yeah? What if... Hey, it's fine. I'm scared too. We squeezed each other tight while I pulled away enough to look him in the eye. Can I stay here with you, just for tonight? Why the fuck would I say no? I don't know. God, you're hopeless. He let me go and wandered away to turn off the light, once as I crawled into bed and leaving the covers pulled back for him. Once the light was off, he crawled in next to me and lay flat on his back, staring at the ceiling. You gonna be alright? Yeah, not the first time we shared a bed. Won't be the last, probably. Meaning? Meaning roll the fuck over. He flipped me around so my back was to him and he cuddled me close from behind, pressing himself as close as he could get to me. He sighed out quietly next to my ear and lightly rubbed my chest. Good night, Dave. Night, Tyson. Soon after that, the exhaustion caught up to me, and I fell asleep in the arms of who mattered most to me at that moment. To be continued. That was Tyson's day 15. Let's just save that here. There we go. So that was password. And the next video coming up will be next week as I record this. And that's going to be part 2 of Ocean Avenue. And then we have more Tyson to come next month as well, because I know he's got an update. So that's it for now. Ocean Avenue next week. And I don't quite know how things are going to work in the schedule after that. All I can tell you is definitely more Far Beyond the World coming up in February. And do some more Minotaur Hotel and some more Tennis Ace as well. So quite a few things to look forward to. Until Ocean Avenue next week. Bye for now.